Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to this week's edition of Not Your Normal Healthpreneur. I am your not so normal host, Benita Amos, working to be a healthy gorilla. Not Your Normal Healthpreneur is a weekly show for health practitioners who are looking to start and grow their natural health business. Our intent is to connect like-minded health practitioners, to share knowledge and strategies, to inspire newbies and wannabes to accept the call to action, to encourage collaboration and cooperation among all health practitioners as we continue to create the modalities of choice for the future. We are keen to help health practitioners increase their exposure and reach, to gain more clients, to grow their business, to acquire more tools to help more people, and in the process, to give people education and insight into some of the natural modalities that are available out there, and where they might turn to for help as an alternative to, say, settling for mediocre health or resorting to the standard invasive medical procedures that are the norm today, or the taking of pharmaceuticals with their potentially harmful side effects. Ultimately, we want to show how challenging the current healthcare system can work to create more profits by helping more people. So it's a win-win situation. My guest this week is the beautiful and lovely Joanne Johnson. I met Joanne a few years back at a health retreat and was immediately attracted to her spirit and her energy, which is part of where her business has taken her over the last few years. So welcome, Joanne.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So tell us a little bit about where you're at in your business right now. I know things are in a bit of a state of flux, but let's start with where you're at and where you're going.
Great. I did obviously meet you at that retreat a couple of years ago now. I can't even remember, 3 years or 4, well, I think, anyway. But that was like amazing experience, and it did catapult me into some life coaching, and then over the course of some crazy years that I had in between, I found myself newly divorced and on a new path. And so life coaching has been like in and out in my life, and I'm still very passionate about it. I just, in the past few months, I took a new position, and I have some exciting things going on there, so I'm not really coaching as much at the moment. I just, I hope to coach still this winter though.
So let's talk a bit then about what was the catalyst for you to get into life coaching. Like we can go back and forth between what is and what's going to be, but let's talk about what got you into life coaching to start with.
I just have been a very like spiritual person throughout my whole life, and some of the teachings that I've come upon have helped me so much in my journey. And even more through the past few years, even when I became a life coach, I hadn't even been through the most dramatic situation that I would experience, and all of that knowledge ended up coming together and pulling me out of a seemingly horrible situation, in order to find true peace and true healing in my body in so many ways. I healed my stomach about 3 years ago. I was also very sick, and I had problems with my gallbladder and my stomach, and it just burned for like 5 years. I couldn't hardly eat anything or drink anything, and I was honestly in a lot of pain. And I did end up having my gallbladder taken out, and I still didn't get better. And so my stomach was still hurting, and finally I just decided, like, mentally, that I wanted to be happy no matter what, and I made a resolution to myself that no matter what, I was going to ignore what's bothering me, and I was going to find a way to be happy. And so over the course of 7 days, I started ignoring everything, and I would just go and put on music, or I would go do whatever I was called to do. If something was irritating me or frustrating me or anything, I just would not let it get to me, and I would go do those exercises and walk away. And after 7 days of doing that, my stomach stopped hurting. Yeah, it was just like this emotional, like, elimination diet. Honestly, that's what I call it, because I'd already eliminated everything from my diet and I wasn't getting better, but I didn't eliminate emotions. And once I did, I got better. And it was seriously just so eye-opening to what emotions, what their role is in
Yes.
our physical well-being. So that was very eye-opening. And then beyond that, later I ended up becoming a survivor of domestic violence. So my marriage ended abruptly, and I was a survivor of domestic violence, and now from there in a small town without family and without a lot of support. I still have friends, but and that journey of learning to cope, and I was able to heal myself from that situational depression in 3 days, after like basically making the decision I was going to not do this anymore. So that was another incredible journey, and I pulled myself out of depression in 3 days using similar sort of elimination techniques.
Well, that's interesting. There's a couple of key things here. The whole I decided I was going to be happy no matter what, and that's really key, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
And
the
then
decision that, yeah, you're not going to allow those emotions to, take over, and you're going to find a way to be happy. It's an important step, the decision.
yes, and then you talk about like the emotion elimination diet. So when I took the health coaching course that I took, they talked about crowding out. So instead of talking about what you were eliminating from your plate, you would just add in more good things so that you didn't have room for the bad things, which is exactly what you're doing when you're saying I'm going to be happy no matter what, because essentially you're saying I'm not going to allow those thoughts to control how I feel. I'm choosing a somewhat different path.
Exactly. Yeah, very similar.
So then let's talk then a little bit about where you are right now, because I know that it's a little bit different from the whole life coaching thing, and yet I want people to get a sense of your spirit and your willingness to take cues from the universe, which I think a lot of us really struggle with.
Oh, and honestly, it's one of my biggest passions as far as like being a coach and stuff. I want to show others, those cues from the universe and what they can mean to your experience. I have had cue after cue after cue that they lead me to the funniest things sometimes, that you think, oh, no big deal, but it's still almost just a miracle that it took you there in the first place, that you got the signal and followed the impulse and was able to have that experience. And so I've been interpreting sort of signs from the universe for a very long time. I have gotten like literal signs, like on the back of trucks and license plates and things. Like I knew I was having a boy because the night before the ultrasound, I parked behind a car, and the license plate said boy on it. And like, it was just right there in my face that I was going to be having a boy. And sure enough, it was confirmed, and I had my little tray, but I've had very, very distinct, all sorts of things. And so I used to be confused by them. Sometimes I would think they were trying to tell me like to go a certain way or to do a certain thing. And after a long time, I realized a lot of the signs are honestly just showing you what you're doing, and like asking you for that confirmation, like, do you want this? This is what you're doing. This is what is coming to you. Do you want more of this? Mm-hmm. And then make a decision from there. But you can get signs from dreams and trucks, or just thoughts in your head, and knowing how to interpret those thoughts in your head that don't come from you. Right. So I did get a cue to this summer. I was working on life coaching, and I was going full force, and that was where I was going. And then I needed some extra cash and I got a message. I drove by this little hotel and I thought, oh, I wonder if that girl running the hotel needs some help. Like, that would be an easy job and maybe she needs some help. And the very next day she posted on Facebook that she needed help. And I contacted her and found my way into this, housekeeping position. And the other part of it I find is like not to have too much pride, I guess, because obviously I do believe I'm more qualified than just being a housekeeper, but I just needed some extra cash and stuff. So if I would let my pride get in the way, I may not have come into this position, but I just went with it, that little nudge. And within like 6 weeks, I became the manager of the hotel. And within 2 months, we started having record sales. And then now I am in talks with the owner to purchase the hotel for myself. So yeah, it's been quite a little ride, and just like one little nudge after the other, like I'm sitting in a place to have a whole new of life story. I wasn't planning to be an owner of a hotel necessarily, but it's like a huge opportunity, honestly. So
Well, and again, that's so interesting, and it's easy for us to either ignore the cues or choose not to act on them because we're afraid to, right?
yeah.
And so how would you say then, because like you said, I took one look at it, like I drove by and I thought about it. And I mean, you driving by and thinking about it, if you believe in how the universe works, which I do, I mean, essentially you're sending out the message and the universe says, oh, okay, well, here's your opportunity, right? But again, it's like, so how do you talk to people about knowing what those cues are or being courageous enough to accept them, if you will?
Yeah, I think it is like little by little that, you get an impulse and follow it and it works out. And then you get an impulse and follow it and it works out. And so this has been a culmination over years of like, you go this way and this happens and you get this message and this happens, and sort of learning how it feels when it happens to you. So to me, I actually do get a sense, like a feeling now where I think, ooh, that didn't come from me. It was like, even the idea to buy the hotel, honestly, I was folding laundry one day and all of a sudden I just thought, well, wait a minute, like I have the X amount of equity in my house, and like that's like about 20% of the hotel. And like all of a sudden my mind just starts going. And like, honestly, when they said they were putting the hotel up for sale, I never considered myself as an option. And like a couple of weeks later, I'm going, no, this is a real possibility. I might actually be able to do this. And I started running numbers. My friend was like watching me. He's like, what were you doing tonight? I'm like, I was looking at all the numbers and trying to figure out like if it would work. And like, I come to him, I'm like, this is what we need to do. And lo and behold, the owner was so receptive, and the whole journey from there, it's just been a lot of yeses, like yes, 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 to where he wouldn't finance for just anybody. He just wants to do it for me, So it's just like opening yourself up to the possibility honestly opens doors. If I didn't believe that I could do it, I wouldn't have put in an offer and we wouldn't be having these conversations to buy it. But all of a sudden I got a nudge to start running those numbers and stuff. And like, sitting where I am now, it's just like, it is scary though. Like, I mean, the stress of like going to apply for the bank and like, can I handle this? And is this really what I want? You do have to be in touch with yourself. And, I know a lot of people who wouldn't be able to make the offer, to apply to the bank, to maybe go for fear of rejection or whatever. It's scary to put your whole life on the line and be judged. So it takes courage, and it takes that trial and error, those little, stepping stones, I think.
Well, and I know from having conversations with you in the past even that you are you are open and in tune with what's coming at you. So and that's why I say it's like, so, and that's what I'm trying to get, out there for people who are looking to establish that same type of inner knowing or intuition, or not establish it, but learn to listen to it, right? Because it's not a skill that we've been taught over the years generally. And so, yes, it does take a lot of courage. But the other point I wanted to make here was the fact that I can understand why the owner would want to have you take it over, because your energy, and you have such a positive, open energy that I could see people being drawn to you, both as an employer and also as a hotel owner, right? It's like, oh, I went there, I stayed there, I felt so loved and appreciated. I can't wait to go back, right? Which is again not really surprising, knowing your energy.
That's so sweet. I mean, I hope to touch people that way, and like, just who I am as a person, I don't think about it very often, but I've had other people say that to me, like, it's like, it's you, it's your energy, it's like what you bring to the table. And it's just like the way that I am and who I like to be. But that's lucky and a blessing just to bring that joy and ease and fun, and be a light in somebody's experience or a positive thing to their trip or their day. It satisfies me. I love those connections. So even if it's only for a minute or a day, it's like still meaningful sometimes. So yeah, thank you.
It's the stone in the pond, right? And the ripple effect that you create.
Yeah, I guess so.
So are you doing any coaching right now, or have you put that on the back burner for now?
It's just on the back burner. I really hope to come back in the winter, maybe December, January, and start doing some more coaching. I just, like I said, I'm so passionate about it now. And like you said, following those impulses and getting in touch with your emotions and how it's gotten me through so much and healed my life in so many ways. Like, I want others to know the power of their own mind and their own emotions, and like their ability to honestly direct their life, that you don't have to just take what comes to you. You get to choose and like put energy where you want to go. And it's really fun to watch it all come together in surprising ways.
Yes, that's a beautiful statement. Honestly direct your life.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of people, we tend to, again, if we fall victim to all of the media conditioning that comes at us, we tend to feel like we're a victim and we have no choice. And yet what I'm hearing you say is we do have a choice, and that's exactly what we can choose to do, is honestly direct our lives.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I mean, just I had another experience that I can think of recently too. After I got divorced and I had to move out of my family home, I didn't know where I was going to go. And I just told the universe, I need a safe and comfortable home for me and my kids. And it needs to just feel like a home. And I want to like it wherever I go. And lo and behold, I had a client call me about a listing, of going to check it out, and it was this foreclosure. And I went in there, and step by step these contractors came over, like we start talking, like, do you think we could remodel this? Do you think yes. I beat out, like, this was the lowest price house in town. I end up getting the contract on it. It's so scary. You don't know if you're going to get it or not. And I had this man come into my life, and to me, he Jesus, who maybe built this staircase. I don't know if you've ever heard, there's a staircase in Santa Fe, and the nuns like prayed. Yeah, so the nuns prayed for somebody to come and build them a staircase, and now it's like a tourist site because they still can't figure out how like engineered. It's not properly engineered, but the staircase stands and is like one of the strongest staircases. But anyway, this man just appeared and built them a staircase and left, and that's how I feel about this person. He was this contractor and came to me and said, yes, I can help you. Yes, I will help you. And he worked his butt off for 2 months to get me into this house. And now I live in like a custom built home, and my children tell me almost every other day, like my son says, I love it here, Mom. I love our house. I love it here, you know? So I got what I wanted, and I got what I asked for, and all the steps of the way I have to keep redirecting my thought when I doubt, like, no, this is what I said I wanted. This is where I want to go. I do want this house. I do want this. And like to keep affirming it, to keep the energy going in the direction you really want.
Yeah. It's interesting because I do these shows and I say they're for other people, but every time I'm talking to somebody, it's like I get goosebumps and warm fuzzies too, because it's like this is beautiful energy, and this is beautiful knowledge to take on and to move forward with, right? Like this.
Yeah.
So when you talk about keeping this moving forward, let's talk again then about your hotel. It's like, because if you're looking into this opportunity, do you know what the pull is for you, or it's just because this is the opportunity, so I'm just going to go with this and we'll see where it lands? I mean, is that kind of how you look at it?
I do. I notice if I get too wrapped up in the end result, like right now, you know, it's not certain yet, maybe that I'm going to purchase it, but instead of allowing myself to think of not having it, you know, I really do sort of test my emotions, and I use my emotions as guidance. So, you know, what feels better to me? Does it better to think about not having it? Does it feel better to have it, you know? And right now it feels better to have it, and it feels good to think of me in that position, to be the owner, to be this person. So, you know, I do believe that sort of it's there energetically, and I can choose it, and that's how I run my day. So you know, you do have to give it up to the universe a little bit and say, well, whatever happens, because you can drive yourself nuts. If like there's other showings, there's people coming to look at the hotel, like you can end up in knots about that because your opportunity might be going away, but like in reality, everything's still moving forward, right? You know, and then the collaboration with others, like I said, the responsiveness of the owner to be willing to go on this journey with me and to back me up, and it's honestly feels like a relationship I have been craving for a long time. Like I don't have a male figure in my life that, you know, has held my hand or supported me, and like this person who was a stranger a couple months ago is like believes in me so much now, and it's just like, you know, it's so satisfying. Like, thank you, universe, you know, like for bringing me this person who believes in me, and we like each other very much, and we could do something really extraordinary together. So yeah.
That's really interesting. I know, like you say, don't get tied up in the end result, but I keep thinking about where could you go with this, such an amazing opportunity, because you have all of this beautiful light energy coming out of you. And I mean, I can see how this energy would benefit everybody that you come into contact with. And so, yes, maybe it's somehow through that hotel organization that ends up getting out to the world. Because again, these are things like I'm all about, you know, like trying to get this information out to as many people out there that are looking for it, right? Because this is how we're elevating the whole planet, right? Is by one soul at a time. But I can only imagine where you might take this, assuming it actually goes through, like you say.
Yeah. And I think, you know, just being available for those who are interested, you know, and allowing the universe to make those connections for you. There was another girl who was like a housekeeper who wanted to be a housekeeper here. And, you know, we ended up having a huge spiritual connection. She's very spiritual, and we can talk about law of attraction all day long and things like that. And so, like, you know, the universe knows what you want, and the universe knows what these other people want as well. And so letting the universe put you together versus like necessarily going out and applying for a job and I need this, this, and this. Sometimes, you know, like, it doesn't matter if you're doing that, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't necessarily go seeking this out, and it sort of all came to me as a lot of things have come to me, you know, like my contractor or other things that I need. And it's like, when you start building that trust with the universe, you start to see how many things actually do work out for you and what the universe knows about you. You know, it's like, it's a loving relationship. It's supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be fun. And, you know, it's sometimes even hard to accept that, I think.
Yeah. Actually, I had that discussion with somebody else a couple of weeks ago too. It's like, life is meant to be well lived. It is meant to be enjoyed. We're not here to suffer and to struggle. We are here to let the universe deliver. But we also inherently know what we need as well, even if we're out of touch with it, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I love that other saying that you had too in there. Is like, I use my emotions as guidelines. So again, what feels good? Actually, somebody was asking the other day about, I don't know what I should do in this situation. And I had one of the coaches that I had hired once upon a time ask me, because I was in that same kind of position. It's like, I didn't know whether I should do this or not. And she said, well, does it feel like you're moving towards something, or does it feel like you're moving from something, right? Because if you're trying to move from something, there's a good chance that that may not be the best motivation for where you want to go, right?
Right, exactly. So that is a great sort of reference for that. Like, are you trying to compensate for some lack, or are you moving towards something that you truly want, you know? So yeah, I could see that for sure. Yeah, it's good advice.
So tell us, you are in a little town. I thought it was close to Denver, but it's really not.
Well, I grew up closer to Denver, and now I've since moved. I've been here 5 years already, but so it's a little town, Norwood, Colorado, and it's closer to Telluride, actually. So just a little town of like 500 people, and it's been such an adventure because to be a flight attendant, you know, I was living in Chicago and DC and traveling the world, and here I am in this little town now. It's so funny.
Well, at some point, I'd like to visit your hotel in your little town. I mean, I know you don't have it yet, but I feel like the universe is definitely guiding you in that direction as well. But it's like, I can only imagine. Then I'm assuming that this hotel is in a nice picturesque area of the state.
Yeah, it's beautiful here. Just lots of like rolling fields and mountains, and anywhere you get in the car, like you can go any direction and travel through spectacular scenery. So it's just gorgeous. You can find petroglyphs, or, you know, hiking, and like there's these old mining towns and stuff, and you'll never get bored like exploring around here. It's really gorgeous, the whole area.
So you could set up your hotel as a retreat and run all of these expeditions, or what do they call them? Tours, if you will, right? Like,
yeah.
That whole hiking, you got me when you said the word hiking. It's like, ooh, that would be awesome. Or like you say, exploring the old mining towns.
Yeah, it is spectacular. There are like these lakes hidden back in the mountains and stuff, and then, like I said, there's petroglyphs like that are not even tourist attractions, that are still so private that you have to like know where they are to find them. But it's just like, so, you know, the Native Americans were living here, and then like the miners and the scenery. Tesla was in Telluride for a long time and had a power plant there, and It's honestly like no other area I've ever experienced. It's gorgeous. And I think it's the owner of the Discovery Channel. He has a resort in a town called Ridgeway that's like 45 minutes from me.
Oh.
And he's been asked like where the most beautiful place in the world is, and he thinks it's Southwest Colorado. Like he's been everywhere, the Discovery Channel, you know, and he chose Southwest Colorado to build his resort. It's so pretty. So
you know, you got something going. What is, you've mentioned this a couple of times, what's a petroglyph?
The drawings on the wall, like hieroglyphs or petroglyphs. Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's they drew the little people into the walls and sort of mapped out their little experience on the cliff walls.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very fun.
Okay, well, I have a whole bunch of other questions here that we haven't gotten to, but most of them would be more applicable to your life coaching, so maybe they're not really applicable to what you're doing right now. But let's talk about who's been a real source of inspiration for you in your life.
My greatest teacher spiritually has by far been Abraham. So Esther and Jerry Hicks and Abraham. Yeah. I found them probably 12 or 13 years ago, and they came to me through my mother. And then I actually flew to Las Vegas for a weekend, and I was a flight attendant at the time, and so I was waiting on standby, and I got the last seat on the plane from Vegas to Chicago. And as I'm like grumbling to the back, like, oh, I didn't get first class on the way home, you know, I got the last seat on the plane, and the guy sitting across the aisle from me was reading Ask and It's Given by Abraham. So like 3 days later, I just sit right next to this guy who's reading their book, you know, and it's spoken to my soul in so many ways, and I've applied so many of their teachings that have ended up working for me, and they've just taught me so much. It just always soothes me and makes me feel connected to listen to them. So they're my greatest spiritual teacher by far.
Well, it's interesting because I think you really epitomize a lot of the teachings of Abraham just with your whole attitude and spirit and energy.
Thanks. I believe it all so much, and I live it, you know. It's almost become like a religion to me, but it's because I've tried it and had success, and like, you know, seen things happen and come to fruition. And so, you know, it's just been amazing, and it's really satisfying.
Yeah. Well, and the more you believe it, the more you manifest, and the more you manifest, the more you believe, and the more you believe, the more you manifest, right? And on and on.
It's that snowball for sure, and it happens.
Nice. So, do you want to like? Do you want to give out your website for coaching, or is that something that you're working on right now? Or like, are you working with people? If we give that contact information, is that something that you're interested in doing at this time?
Well, I still have an ebook that I created. Okay. It's called The Struggle Is Over, and it's just like a 12 or 13 page book. But it sort of explains how I pulled myself out of that depression. I was in a deep situational depression after I was, you know, when I was getting divorced, and sort of the techniques that I used to soothe myself in those 3 days and pull myself out of that depression. So it's a great resource, and that you can find at themanifestingmovement.com.
Nice. I like anything with movement in the title.
I just thought of that. I put that together when you said that earlier. I was like, oh, it's a movement. It's a movement.
It's a movement. So if they want that, they can download that off that site. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then there's in the ebook more ways to contact me. I'm on Facebook. I have a business page, and I do have the group, the Manifesting Movement, as well. So if anybody would like to get a hold of me, Facebook is probably the easiest resource to use. But definitely check out the ebook, and let me know what you think about that as well.
And so if you do go ahead with the hotel, will you be updating that on the Manifesting Movement, or is that a new site that you're going to be creating?
I'll be doing that separately. So I'll have like the Norwood Inn, I'll have that off by itself, and then I will be doing the Manifesting Movement separately. Yeah, so that will be fun. Two websites now.
Well, like I said to you earlier, it's like I want to see pictures, because if Discovery Channel is saying this is one of the nicest areas of the world, I love, well, you watch my posts too, right? It's like I love taking pictures of nature because it's so beautiful and it's so uplifting.
Yeah. Oh, you would love it here. You should plan to come down here sometime. It's so beautiful.
After this conversation, it's on my list.
Good. You can stay here.
Yes.
For sure.
Well, I was just going to say, it's like I know where I can stay.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. This was really nice chatting with you again, Joanne. It's like I'm really eager to see, or interested to see, where you end up, because I think that even if you go the hotel route, I can see that the whole life coaching, manifesting, Abraham is so firmly entrenched in your psyche that I see that being a big part of wherever you take your business, whether it's the hotel, whether it's life coaching, whether it's a combination of the two.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's just, it's wonderful. And I am so passionate about it. And I'm excited to see what's next too. Honestly, like, where is this going to go?
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks, Joanne. And thank you to everyone for joining us this week. We love sharing stories. We love giving people options. As always, we appreciate feedback. So if you enjoyed the show, please let us know, and then spread the love and tell your friends. If you have a suggestion for someone that you'd like to see on the show, please email me at benita@thehealthygorilla.com. And then coming soon to my website is 15 easy hacks to more visibility, more clients, and more income for natural health businesses. And then please join us again next week, and let's keep this natural health movement going.